Licensing Subcommittee. Can I just briefly go through the protocols for the remote hearings? So only speak when invited by the chair. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand and direct all communication via the chair. Will everyone please ensure that their mics are muted when they are not speaking apart from the chair? If you have any technical difficulties, please use the chat function in the Google Meet to alert the meeting. Please do not use the chat function for putting formal questions to the subcommittee. All applicants and all parties will be asked to leave the proceedings after their item has concluded, and you should hear within 5 working days be notified of the decision. I'll just start off with the first item on the agenda. Can we elect a chair, please? Angela Patrick.
Councillor Smith.
Yep, okay, that's great. Thank you very much. Welcome everyone to this licensing meeting Tuesday the 12th of January. The premises is 92A to 94 Wallace Road, E9 in Hackney Wick. You've got an agenda. I don't know if you can see this, if you've got a pack or if it's online. It's just on the inside sleeve of the agenda pack if you've got it. So we've done the election of chair. Any apologies for absence?
We don't have any apologies, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Any declarations of interest? I have none.
None.
Great. So we'll just move on to the hearing procedure just to talk you through how things are going to work. So we have the appointment of chair and introduction, which we've just done. After, when I go through the hearing procedure, we'll just go through each other and just introduce ourselves very quickly. Step 2 is the licensing officer will outline the report. Step 3, the applicant will then put forward their case. Step 4, responsible authorities will put forward their case. In this case, it will be the police, because licensing have withdrawn, I believe. Any other persons, which I don't think there are today, is step 5. Each of these is 5 minutes. Step 6 is a discussion phase. That can take up to 15 minutes if necessary. Step 7, closing remarks. Step 8, clarification. And then ultimately, that will be the end of the meeting. And all those of you that are not going to be making the decision will have to leave, and we will give you the decision the following day, tomorrow, I believe. Is that right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
Brilliant. Okay, so if we could just go around and introduce ourselves very quickly. I'm Councillor Smith of Stoke Newington Ward. Councillor Patrick.
Councillor Sean Patrick, Kings Park Ward.
Amanda.
Hello, good evening. My name is Amanda Northheim, solicitor, assisting members this evening. Thank you.
Ms. Ryan.
Good evening. Kerry Ryan, Hackney Police Licensing.
Mr. Newman.
Good evening, Andy Newman, Andy Newman Consulting Limited, agent for 9294.
Thank you. Mr. Atkins.
Good evening, I'm PC Atkins from Hackney Police Licensing Unit.
Great. Mario's on the call and he's our technical assistant. So thank you for that, Mario. Rabia?
The Governance Service Officer.
Okay, great. And we have Remy Landaz.
Yeah, hi guys. I'm Remy, one of the co-founder of 90 and 9294 in Wallace Road.
Okay, welcome. And is it Simon Baird?
Hi there, I'm Simon Baird. I'm the Operations Manager and DPS for 92 and 94 Wallace Road. Okay,
thank you, Simon. And I think Suba.
Subhashri Ramana, Principal Licensing Officer.
Excellent. Now, I think I've got everybody. Anybody I haven't got, please raise your hand. And you can help me, because I'm working off an iPad and quite often I don't see people when they raise their hand, so I don't have all the faces on here. So we'll move straight to step 2, which is can we ask the licensing officer please to outline the report? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Licensing Service received an application for variation of premises license under Section 34 of the Licensing Act 2003 for studios 9294 Unit 1 92A 94 Wallace Road to extend the authorized supply of alcohol in indoor space, as stated in the agenda. Licensing Service withdrawn their objection based on the planning application submitted to the London Legacy Development Corporation. So only police objection remains. The applicant has submitted additional information which has been circulated. I have nothing else to add. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much indeed for that. And now we can move on to the applicant, please. I presume that's Mr. Newman.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I won't go over what's just been said. I'll start with this. We've seen many operators go bust during these horrible times. Recently, Café de Paris and Café Rouge. Jobs and incomes, supporting families, ability, all lost. 9294 is close to being unviable as a business and going bust, which will result in people losing their jobs and their income. 9294 has a grant from the Arts Council and support from the Mayor's and GLA office as they pivot and innovate to try and save the business, people's jobs and livelihoods. Remy Landaz has been behind number 90 for many years. It's never been reviewed or prosecuted and has won an award. Kit Malthouse, the minister, has sent a letter to councils, asked for leniency if you like. Toulson expresses the economic needs being part of the decision making. Hackney Wick has been a growth area for businesses and licensed premises. So there we are. This is an impassioned plea to use the outside space to save the business, save jobs and livelihoods, and so that when we get back to normal times or semi-normal times, 9294 can move ahead. Thank you.
Okay, great. I think I'm okay to move on. Councillor Patrick, are you okay to move on at this stage?
Yes.
Okay, brilliant. So now if we could have the responsible authority, please, that would be the police to represent their case. Thank you.
Good evening, thank you, Chair. The applicant has stated in this application, as Mr. Newman just said, that the reason for this application is to counter the detrimental effects that coronavirus has had on their business and the financial state of their business. And although we appreciate the last almost 12 months now has been horribly tough for the hospitality industry, it doesn't unfortunately change the fact that police must consider the promotion of the licensing objectives and particularly when considering the application for under the prevention of crime and disorder objective and not the financial state of the business or the premises. During the past year, my colleagues and I, we've worked every weekend throughout the pandemic, and we visited this premises in particular every weekend, maybe twice on the Friday and the Saturday night. And although we appreciate constant changes and amendments to the coronavirus regulations have at times been confusing and difficult to keep up with, many of the regulations have stayed the same, and it did become increasingly frustrating for us that many of these visits we had to speak to the management or the door supervisors about the music levels being too high, lack of social distancing, and on occasions customers dancing to a DJ that was stood in a booth. And these are contrary to the regulations that were put in place to try and reduce infection during the pandemic. This premises is located within a large yard, and this large yard services other premises that are there. Some of them are licensed. And please feel that the 500 people that the applicant proposes to accommodate in this outside area will cause all sorts of disruptions, not only for the other businesses, but also for the residents that could soon be living in the building opposite. One of our main concerns is the music. There is a DJ booth there. And because of the deregulation of music, it does mean that we would not be able to add any conditions that would be enforceable around music levels, times, and we could in effect end up with an outdoor club. We're also struggling with 500 capacity that's been mentioned in our discussions, because at 10 p.m. where do these people go? Some may be let aside, may go next door to number 90, but in our experience they stay, they hang around, they drink on the street, chat to their friends, And while they're there, the other licensed premises are then kicking out as well, and we're going to end up with hundreds of people on the street. What we would ask is that if this area does become part of the licensable space, we would look for a more detailed dispersal plan to make sure that these crowds are pushed away and they're not disrupting the residents that live at the bottom of Wallace Road as they have been previously. We would also say a specified number of SIA on duty whenever the outside is open, because at the moment on the licence it's all under operational risk assessment basis. I have had discussions with Mr. Newman about considering having 120 people outside as opposed to the 500 that's been mentioned. This is the number that they've had granted on temporary event notices, and we would suggest that it's also granted for a time limited period, which we haven't discussed what length that would be. Maybe it would be a specified time, or whether it would be when the flats outside have residents living in them. I think that's it really from us. So I'm happy to discuss anything further and any questions that you may have.
Well, I'm happy to kind of, if everyone else is satisfied, just to move into a kind of discussion phase at this point, I think. I mean, obviously...
Sorry, Chair.
Yeah, go on.
Could we have the dates of the visits and on each visit what they found? So what they found that what they found in the way of things that they are bringing to our attention. But the police visits, that is.
Yeah, the police visits. They were pretty much every weekend when the licensed premises were open, during whatever restrictions they had. When the outside area was being used under temporary event notices, or whether it was being used under the Business and Planning Act, I haven't got those dates to hand, but it was very regular, and we regularly spoke to either Mr. Baird or door supervisors that were there, or any management team that were there at the time. And it was mainly due to, a lot of the time it was the music level that was high. There were people dancing on some occasions, and obviously people had to be seated because they were in groups of maximum of 6. And what was the other thing that I noted? Can't remember what the other thing was. Oh, social distancing.
Yeah. And Kerry, what is the main way that people leave the area, would you say?
Down Wallace Road towards the station and into the residential area. Some people do use the bridge and go over to Stratford, but in my experience, most people use Wallace Road because that's where all the cabs come up.
Okay, great. Is everyone happy to move on to the discussion phase? Yeah? I mean, I think clarification, we sort of got the idea. I mean, I would like to sort of just, I would like to hear from Remy a little bit, just about, you know, the position the business is in, really. I know it's not really that's not really our remit, but I'd just like to hear it anyway, very briefly.
Yeah, thank you for giving me the opportunity. Would it be okay if I just kind of explain a little bit what we're trying to do? Because I don't want to be, you know, being misled that we're trying to turn the yard into a club, because this is absolutely not what we're trying to do. We've been here for about 10 years now, and I think we're running a very, very respectable business. We've never had any problem. Part of our business is to run, you know, late night event. We've probably done maybe 200. I don't think we've had any problem in the last 10 years. We've had up to 1,000 people, you know, on temporary event notice living. You know, we are pretty good and organized when they need to leave. We're completely aware of the problem that might cause to the residents, you know, when people are leaving. And I'm talking about 6 a.m., 6 a.m., you know, during the evenings. When that's the case, we have someone at the end of the road that disperses people. So I just want to make sure that we all on the same page, that we all agree. We professional. We you know, it's impossible to be 100% on top all the time. What we're trying to do here is we've been closed. By the end of this lockdown, we would have been closed about 6 months, you know, since last year. The situation is desperate. You know, we've borrowed about £250,000 at the moment. We're living off this. Back in September, we've applied for the grant funding. Part of the events that we do in 92-94 are grassroots events. So we have lots of artists that comes and use the space. And we applied to the grant in order to be able to develop the outside space, because especially at the time we were not allowed to use any of the inside. What we're trying to do here is not to take an opportunity to do licensing outside and turn it into a club. We're trying to be able to use some of the space that we have to compensate for all the loss of revenue that we've had. The way we've adapted, we've adapted as much as we could, you know, in order to retain our capacity. You know, the original capacity that we had in number 90, we've used the 2 event space, 90 and 92, to spread all the table that we had and be able to do table service and follow the government guidance. So we've managed to kind of retain the some of the business that we've had in number 90, using 3 buildings and paying 3 times the rent that we had. We've lost the entire you know, like many club owner, and we're lucky that we can adapt. Many other people are in much worse situation than us, and they already, you know, folded. We're trying to find ways to recoup all this loss that we've had from the inside. So we do not want to do a club outside. We've never had any problem. You know, we've always worked with the police wherever there was any issues, and I don't think there's been many. You know, we followed government guidance all through that period. You know, in terms of the social distancing, we followed it. You know, what was based on music levels were at less than 85 decibel. We have a system where we go and record, and it might sound loud. People then saying we police them, you know, it's not like we're letting them down. So not once this happened, you know, and we're on the case, but it's impossible to direct and stop everyone from doing it. But I think we're really trying as hard as we can. What we're trying to do here is to really, you know, we've operated at loss, you know, all this time. And we've got those fundings and those loans that we're using right now to keep going. To be honest, I was trying to be optimistic, and I thought we would be able to reopen in January. And realistically, it looks like we're going to be closed January, February, and maybe March. I mean, this is desperate, you know. We're really trying to bounce back and trying to do something that is professional, that's not going to have any impact on the people around us. We only have a very limited amount of time, regardless of the people moving across. Our building is coming up to an end. You know, the building, our landlord is redeveloping. Yes, we hear, you know, we try to engage and with the police to find ways, and we want to find ways, but we need to be fair. It needs to come to some ways where we can still be able to run a business. You know, the last proposal was 60-70 people outside. I mean, we cannot do anything with 60 people outside. You know, 500 granted, it's too much. We can reduce it. We can do something temporary when there's going to be people moving across the road in the residence, maybe in 12 months. You know, we're definitely here to work together and find a solution. But it needs to be a solution where we can work. I mean, you know, coming to a point where there's so little, we need a certain amount of people in order to pay for the security, pay for all the improvement that needs to be done outside, pay for staff, pay for our rents and stuff like that. So we really here, I just want to make sure that we, you know, understand we're not, by the way, we're not trying to decuplate our capacity, having 500 people inside, 500 people outside, because it's not the case. You know, during the summer, you know, there's no one inside. The space are empty. No one want to be in a warehouse that's got no lights. You know, so and during the winter at the moment, or during the last few months, we were not even allowed to have anyone inside. So this is how this came about in the first place, to be able to extend our license. We have some form of regulated entertainment, because no one's going to come for a drink in the middle of February, you know, drinking a pint of beer in a car park if you're not allowed to have something to attract them. And yeah, I mean, this is what I wanted to say. So in terms of the situation is critical in terms of finance. You know, if we cannot bounce back, we're going to have to fold. And unfortunately, people will lose their job. You know, we have huge. I mean, our rents are about £25,000 a month. You know, and at the moment we close, we've got no grant. We didn't get the first grant in March, for example. I mean, it's pretty tough.
Okay, great. Good to hear all that. Well, bad to hear all that, but it's necessary to hear it. Councillor Patrick, would you like to come in with some questions? I mean, I've got some questions myself, but I'd like you to come in.
Thank you. I suppose the biggest concern is about the numbers. Obviously 500. Yeah, it's about the numbers and how many people we're actually talking about having outside. And you said that you've rented extra premises this year because to allow for social distancing. Are these extra? Is the car park area covered the extra premises? And are you carrying on with these extra premises in the next summer, if presumably you can reopen them? So what numbers are you actually looking at outside?
No, so so we have number 90, which is the bar restaurant, and 92, 94 was versatile space, which before COVID we could do screening, exhibition, live events. We had a lot of grassroots people coming in. We were doing some late nights events. During COVID, all of that had to stop. So we could not do any of those. So what we've done, we've adapted and we've extended all our capacity. We bought a lot of furniture, tables, and benches, and we've used those two empty space to extend the capacity of our restaurant. And we've managed to, basically what this made was that we could kind of retain, if you want, almost the capacity of number 90, but using 3 space instead. It means 3 rents instead of 1. This, we're lucky that we had that space and we could, you know, keep trading. But basically it means that all last year, we basically, whenever we could trade, we trade at the break-even point. Now the car park is ours. It's part of our space. And what we've done is that during the summer, we used some temporary event notice to do some outside space, because this is where the sun is shining, and we wanted to, again, maximize the space, because no one want to be in a warehouse during the summer. So this is what we've done. I think it worked pretty well. And we then applied based on that concept. We've applied for the art grant to be able to get some money to be able to do a cover, because the problem with the car park is that as soon as it rains, everything is finished. I mean, it's really hard to plan ahead some events because you don't know if it's going to be raining, so you cannot pay for artists and maybe it's going to rain and everything is going to be down. So we had the art grant. We had we wanted to do a bit of a cover, have some heaters, because that was mainly to do to survive. At the time, it was to do December, January, February, March, all this winter period. Obviously, the lockdown has made that everything's been pushed, and now we're using that grant to actually pay for our expenses. So it's eating down all this. I mean, really, we're all hoping that we can come out of this lockdown as soon as possible, because this is the worst at the moment.
Okay, great. Anything else, Councillor Patrick?
The question was the capacity. So yeah, it's look, we talked about 500. We've done, when our space are open I'm talking pre-COVID, when our space, we have different capacity in each of them. I think all in all, our venues, it's probably, I don't know, maybe you put the 3 together, you're probably close to 1,000 people, like 300 there, 300 there. So we have big venues. During the summer, the area is super busy. The park is packed, the canal is packed. There's a lot of people coming in and out. We're not talking about adding another 500. We're talking about having an options to have those people outside drinking. When they are outside, there's no one inside. So it's not suddenly we become 1,500 people. We just have an option to, it's a different space for people to be. We're very conscious of the amount of people we have in the space and how to mitigate all those people. Me personally, I don't think that, we're not going to end up being 2,000 people basically, and no one's going to be able to go anywhere.
Yeah, but how many people are you looking for outside?
So from what I understand, we've applied for 500. This is for after COVID and but I was saying to Andy, look, we need to be able to have about 350 people to make it work. Any less than that, it's by the time you pay your security, you're gonna have to have 2 or 3 security. You're gonna have to have all the setup, buy all the equipment, everything. By the time you less than that, it just doesn't wash its face.
Okay. Talking about security, how many security people are we talking about having?
So look, we've always worked based ourselves on risk assessment, and it's always been between 1 per 80 or 100 people. I mean, I know that Kerry mentioned to have. I just want to be careful, with the wording. To have security as soon as the yard is open, it will be, you don't have that in a pub. You're not going to have someone sitting in a pub because the club is open. It's based on risk assessment and having we're there. We've never had any problem. I mean, I think this is a testament to us. We've never had any single problem. The people we attract, the good people, and on top of that, we've got good security. So it should be. We want it to be based on a risk assessment. As soon as you got a certain amount of people, you have security to control the crowd. I think it's one per 100. Again, it's not a club. It's not binge drinking. The way I envisage it, it's to have tables and chairs, and people eating, drinking, like a bit like you would have in a pub, basically.
Okay, does Mr. Baird want to come in with some of those security issues? Because you're kind of doing this sort of pragmatic, practical, managerial function. Isn't that right?
Correct.
Yeah, that's me. I mean, I think Remy touched on it there. We do by risk assessment, and we would see whatever the capacity ends up or whatever we're expecting to come. We would operate at about 1 security for every 75 to 100 customers we expect, which, as far as I know, is the.
Have you ever had to use security? Have they ever been there at all?
Yeah, I mean, when we were doing the 10s during the summer, we had 2 dedicated security to the space while we were doing social distancing, which was 120 people. So it was way above the upper threshold of what we needed to have. And that was with support from extra security that would have been doing the entrance into 90 as well.
And how quickly can you get them if you need them? Say it starts to get really busy and you weren't really expecting it. How quickly can you engage the security people?
I don't think it would really be a case of that. It would be us committing to a upper threshold of capacity before the event, and if we can't over the amount of people, we don't go over the people that we've planned for.
Right. So just to drill a little bit deeper here, when you mention this event, is this going to be primarily an event space then?
I think part of so it had been suggested to us that we use the planning variation that has been put through where you can almost act as a takeaway space. The issue and the reason that we want to go for a permanent license instead is that it is a car park. It isn't some picturesque pub garden or canal side terrace. We feel that to be able to attract customers to that area, we need to have at least some form of entertainment.
Right. And that's mainly going to be music, is it?
Yes, probably.
Okay. Councillor Patrick, do you want to come in at all?
Yeah, I mean, on the security, I understand. I'm sure the police would have told us if they had to attend to your site previously. But if you're going to have lots of people outside, I do think we need to think about having a minimum security personnel certainly on Fridays and Saturdays, probably from about 7 o'clock in the evening, I imagine. I think that needs to go in the license because we need, people do get outside. There is lots of people. There is residents and other clubs, and I do think we need some sort of security built in. So I will suggest that we put SIA door supervisors at a minimum number on the license for the outside area.
Mr. Newman, do you want to come back on that point?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. It's just my point is this really, is that whilst a number of residents are expected in the flats opposite, they haven't been built yet, and it may be some time before they are, and before they're populated as well by those that are supposed to go in there. And secondly, the license as it stands expires, Simon, I believe, in November next year. Is that right? Yeah. So I just wanted to remind you of those, and the economic need, as per Toulson, is a valid inquiry. Thank you.
Brilliant. Yeah, I mean, I think what we haven't really discussed is the map, is the plan really. I'm looking here on Google Maps, and I just need to clarify just where exactly this area is, because looking at Google Maps, I mean, I know the area very well down there. I'm just trying to work out, you know, how much of this car park is part of your building. That's the first point. So I need clarification on that. And also, if the bit of the car park you're talking about extends to number 90, which you also kind of use for your restaurant, because obviously we're looking at 92 and 94 here. But if it includes 90, that's not on the application. But anyway, I'd just like to clarify where this car park is exactly. I mean, I could show you the Google Map image on the screen if that would help. Would that help?
if you I mean, I'm Google Map, and unfortunately if you look at the satellite, it's a very old photo. We actually,
can you see that? No, that's
No.
a bit tricky.
Yeah, this is really old. This is really old. But actually, if you on Google Map and you put a top view with the satellite, you can see markings on the floor like this. Those are all the car park markings, and there's a white line that literally delimitates our space. This is our land, and it is actually now it is fenced up because we fenced our own car park to stop people coming in. So it's a delimited space.
Yeah.
And it formed this.
In my image, there's a little blue truck sitting on a bit of the land. Yeah, like a little takeaway van.
Sorry, Councillor. So shall I share the screen, Councillor, with the map?
Sorry?
Shall I share the screen with the map?
Yeah, I mean, that might be kind of useful.
Yeah.
If you could share a satellite view rather than street view, because we cannot really see from the street view. So if you share the satellite view, and it's there you go.
My screen.
Yeah, perfect. Yes. So if you can you zoom in a little bit. Yeah, and then so you can see some kind of little dot. You can see the two black cars, and there's little dots just at the back of it. Those are bollards on the floor. This is and you can kind of see a white line. This is the delimitation of our space.
Suba, do you want to put your mouse on the bits that he's talking about?
Yeah. So is this two black cars? Yeah.
Yeah, and then just at the back you can see two black dots.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a white line. Yeah, that's it. This white line. This is our space. This is our car park, and it's got a fence around. Like it's not on that, but it's fenced around now with so it's yeah. So it's not like people can just wander off if you want. It's a closed area.
Yeah, Suba, can you just move it down a bit? Is that the corner where the two black cars are? Is that outside number 90? Is it roughly?
Yeah, no, you can move a little bit. So number 90, we're not looking at number 90. This is the entrance. Most of the time, the way we do it as well. Simon can stop me if I'm wrong, but in order to control the crowd, we get them to, I believe, and Simon, you can just say if that's correct, but I believe we get them in to come through the entrance. Like you can see some stairs, if you want, sticking out of the building. This is kind of our ramp where we come into the building, and we get them to come here so they can be checked at the entrance.
So just to clarify, that building with the red roof, that's what we're talking about, yeah?
That's number 90, yes.
That's number 90,
our building as well.
So the ones to the right of that with the kind of grey sort of shaded looking roofs.
That's 92, 94.
Right, got you.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, that kind of makes sense then now.
Yeah.
So are we talking about just the car park for 92 and 94?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, and also I want to point out is that you know, our car park is in used during the day, so it's not like, oh, it's going to be people there all the time. We have this car park is actually in used, and you know, when Simon was talking about events, you know, when we're gonna, if we have to do some, like, you know, we're talking about 350. I mean, if we get to that number, that would be amazing, you know, and you will really help. But last summer it wasn't really the case. So we need to plan things ahead, and we need to let our Maynard resident know about it. So it's not like free flowing, if you want, you know. It's an entire organization, and so it cannot. It's hard to get it out of control if you want. It's not like, oh, anything is gonna happen, you know. In terms of the security, this is why I think when we were talking about licensing, and Simon was saying about committing, it's because, you know, in order for us to even set up the space, we need to know that we something is gonna happen. So during the summer, we planned a couple of small events just to make sure that we would have the capacity and everything will make sense. And yes, it's not going to be like, oh, everything happening and there's no control whatsoever. We actually need to plan things ahead and making sure that it's all well managed, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, the issue, I suppose, for me is the fact that, okay, you've got a fence around there now, but it's going to be used as well as a car park. So that means that I presume there won't be a fence around it. So ultimately, you know, you've got, I mean, to look at the space itself, for me, to fit 350 people in that space alone, I think would be tricky, personally, just looking at it on Google Maps.
So the space that you see is 400 square meter.
300. No.
How much is it, Simon?
300. I think there is a mix up here that you think it's half the space that you think it is as well.
You're talking to me?
Yeah. So just to clarify, the building with the red roof is number 90. And then 2 warehouses below it are Studio 9294, not a single one.
Yeah, there's 2 of them there, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I've got you.
Half of the area.
Yeah.
How many cars? Because we can see 2 cars outside 92, I presume, or 94, those black ones.
Yes.
Yeah, so how many cars can you fit in that space?
One. So it's
about
8.
6.
No, it's actually 4 on each side. So in total you can park 16 cars. And we were talking about the fence. The fence is permanent. It's there all the time. There's a gate that you open in front of 92 I-94, so that during the week they open, cars can come in and out. And then when we have those events, we close the gates so that, number one, no car can parking, and number two, random people cannot just walk in. They have to come to a very specific entrance, so everyone can be checked, and the people that we decide, you know, should not be there, or maybe they're not part of it, they're not coming.
Yeah. And how have you come upon that number of 350? How have you established that?
Simon?
I mean, we think, seeing the space that we've done it with socially distancing over the summer was at 120 cap. From everything that we've seen, non-social distance caps are about 3 to 4 times that. So.
Councillor Patrick, does that give you an idea of how big this space is?
Yeah.
And what are your views?
It's difficult to. I mean, if you've got 120, was that with a meter or 2 meters?
That was 2 meters.
So yeah, that's quite a big space. If you've got 120 people with 2 meters between them.
I mean, I'm looking at the map here. Based on, I think outside 92, I can see about 6 cars parked there. You're saying kind of 8 cars per bit, which is 16 altogether.
That's what I said.
I mean,
how many cars per person?
I mean, obviously the sticking point here is numbers, right? I mean,
yeah.
That's the issue. I think that's the primary issue. Ultimately,
do the police have, can we ask whether the police have any views on?
Yeah.
Since they brought this application.
Yeah, PC Ryan, if you might like to elaborate on the size of the space, as you've been actually sort of down there when there's people in there.
Yeah, I'm having technical issues. Oh, there you go. Yes, I mean, I don't think the 120 people isn't with each of those people being socially distanced, if you know what I mean. They were in groups of 6. So it's not 120 people that have each got 2 meters around them, because that would be a huge space.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will be.
So they were in groups.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd come to 120 because that seemed manageable. It's what they've had temporary event notices on. That's how we've come to 120. I think 350 is too many. I don't see how they're all going to be dispersed either. Where are they going to go when that outside space is closed?
Yeah.
I mean, I would say that, you know, when we have 1,000 people, which we've had in license, and they need to evacuate, they also evacuate, and that's a different thing. 350 people during the day, we're talking about 10 p.m. close. Some of them will be, so obviously we're talking about after COVID, during the restriction, we need to abide for the guideline. Everyone's seated. So the 2 meter apart was in group of, you know, we're talking about tables and benches, 6 people. So with the table 2 meter apart, and so we're talking about 350 without the table after COVID during a normal day, you know, and when they leave, they're gonna be leaving in the day. They're gonna maybe come, you know, if there is no more restriction after 10 p.m., they're probably gonna go inside 92, 94, 90. Some of them will leave. This is pretty much what we've had so far. We you know, before COVID, we had the numbers. They were just inside, you know, and from 10 a.m. They would come in from 10, because this is pretty much when we would be starting events. So and then we would close around 11, 1. What I'm trying to understand is what is the difference with what we've been doing so far? You know, so it's not, I just want to be careful again. It's not having 350 outside and another 600 inside, which is more or less the capacity of Studio 92, 94. It's having some, you know, having them outside and pretty much having none inside. And then if everything goes fine and we can resume to what it used to be before, we're going to end up having some events like we used to do before, and people ultimately going to come inside, and we're going to be back to what we've been doing for the last 2-3 years. So we're not trying to add capacity. We're trying to make use of that space while we can.
So I can understand that during COVID, you're not trying to add capacity. But I understand you've got a time limited license. Let's say spring and summer of 2022. You could have people inside if they wanted to sit inside, and people outside. So you could have a lot of people in that space if they don't have to social distance. And I can see what the worry is, that you could almost be doubling the capacity of the building by then, and that's what our worry is. That so I can see that, you know, when you've got social distancing, then everyone's got to. But in 2022, you know, you could actually be doubling the capacity of the building. Are you planning to keep the tables and chairs after when the COVID regulations go, or are you keeping them?
Yeah, so I mean, I completely understand what you're saying, and on paper, most likely, and then again, what we could do is simply agree on a total capacity. The tables and chairs right now, obviously, you know, once this regulation goes, we're not going to have tables and chairs inside. We've extended the capacity because we needed because we needed to extend the capacity. If we don't have it, we're not going to be using the inside. And you know, we've been there for maybe 2-3 years now. People are not coming inside a warehouse during the summer, during spring, or whatever. Like we've done it many times. You know, you can come anytime you want. We open, the space are empty inside. So, you know, if this might help, you know, in finding solution, you know, we have a certain capacity now, you know, without the outside. If the restriction lift, we're gonna be back to those capacity. So I think that maybe a good way would be to like, okay, this is the capacity. If the restriction lift, you gotta make sure you're not extending the capacity, because we would be back to what we were before. But it just means that some people will be inside and very few people will be inside.
Yeah, I think my sort of issue in a way with this is the fact that it's a fairly open space. I know you say it's fenced off, but there will be a temptation for people just to hang around. I think, you know, if there's music playing outdoors and there's a nice feeling down there and it's a lovely summer's evening and 10 o'clock, you know, people might just hang around a bit. And I think, you know, the police are right to be concerned about the dispersal element, and I think Councillor Patrick is also right to be concerned about the security element. So, you know, we need to reach a compromise here somewhere along the line in order for this to sort of happen. Yeah, go on, Councillor.
Yeah, but I don't know if you can see, but PC Ryan's trying to come in, and Martin is also trying to come in. I know you can't.
Sorry, PC Ryan, I didn't see you there.
And Martin, I just wanted to let you know. Sorry.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to say a little bit more on the capacity and the security, because they are linked. I mean, Remy did say that people don't want to sit outside and drink in the cold, but I've seen it every weekend, especially in other areas of Hackney. There's crowded areas of people that want to drink outside, whether it's freezing or whether it isn't. If drink is available, they will sit and drink outside. During the day, if they haven't got a set number, if they haven't got a set capacity, a set security condition, how are they? Who's going to control how many people are sitting inside, how many people are sitting outside? So who's going to know what the capacity of each area is? And especially on football days, you've got larger crowds coming in that are going to see West Ham. It all just needs to be tied down a little bit.
Yeah,
there's no problem about the security. I just want to make sure that we just need to come to an agreement. What I don't want to be in a position is that if we are open, which we've been in the past, if we are open, we need to have security. And I think it wouldn't be realistic. You know, it needs to be based on the amount of people we have. And if we have, for example, you know, we've been going on for long enough. If we have football, we always have maybe 2 or 3 more security. It's always based on the amount of people. So yes, look, we're on the same page. Yes, we need to have security. We need to have the right amount. What is this right amount? That's why it needs to be based on the risk assessment. You know, and we are pretty good, you know, with what we do. We never had any problems. So it kind of shows that we know how many people we need to fit. And Simon, you want to raise your hand. So I guess is that you want to talk about something about security, because you know more than me.
Yeah, sorry. So I mean, there are, for me, as far as the capacity, like, it would be fully feasible for us to agree that if the outside space gets used, we need to not have one of the indoor spaces being used at all. And then that would fully compensate for any additional capacity that we're gaining from outside. It would be sacrificed inside. But I would also say that if we're going to use outside, I have no issue with us. I think it would be fair to say that if we were going to use outside, that there is a minimum amount of security, potentially 2, that is used if we are going to use the outside space. That wouldn't be...
Okay, that's very... Okay, so you're offering up 2 SIA. And have you got a what are you suggest? Have you got a number that you think in non-COVID times that you think you could have outside and control what would be reasonable for people to your dispersal policy as well? So if you took about, you've had 120 for your 10s, so you know,
120.
200.
The 120 that we did was during coronavirus.
Yeah.
If you take into consideration some of the really large events that we've put on in that space that have gone way later than we would ever consider doing the outside space, and we've managed to execute them, as far as I'm aware, without disturbing the local residents. As far as I'm aware, Kerry brought up that there had been a history of the local residents being disturbed. From the information that I had received, this was actually from Shapes, which is an old neighbouring venue that apparently used to cause an awful lot of issues with the residents down on Wallace Road. And as far as I'm aware, we haven't had any directly linked to us since we've been running our events.
Okay, but you didn't answer Councillor Patrick's question about the numbers. She mentioned 200.
I still think it's quite low. We put forward the 500. I do think 300 to 500 is very reasonable, but I mean.
Isn't there another nightclub there? Probably goes on all night though. Is it called Noir? The one with the sort of the ducks graffiti on the wall, just round the corner a bit.
That is Shapes that's been closed for years.
Oh, okay.
I was referring to about the complaints.
Because obviously across the river there's that whole new development there as well, which has got bars just across the bridge. You know, so we are looking at sort of numbers in general around the whole area, and how sort of late night activities are going to be dispersed. It's quite key, you know, particularly for residents. So let's just get back to these numbers again, because I think, you know, I just want to push this. PC Ryan, how do you feel about 250?
I think it's too many.
Okay, so you're going to stick to your 120, are you?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
The thing is, when it's a temporary event notice, it's not. It's a one-off, or there's fewer of them. When it's going to be, it could be every day or every weekend. It's, you know, it's not risk assessed. It's you know, when it's run every day, it has more impact on the local residents.
And how do you feel about the
businesses.
condition that was put forward by Mr. Baird in relation to the sort of outside, inside? You know, if they're outside, they won't be inside kind of condition.
Yeah, that seems reasonable.
Okay, well, maybe we can
I mean, what Simon was saying, you know, is that if we use so roughly those 290, 294, roughly speaking, the capacity is 350 people each. You know, if we use, what he was saying is that if we use the inside, if we use the outside, one of those space at least just gets shut down. It means that roughly speaking, we're back onto this potential capacity that we've had, and that we kind of operate. Since that we're also talking about, we're not a nightclub. We're talking about going until 10 p.m. and then people can move back inside and kind of almost organically start disperse little by little. Some people are gonna stay. Number 90 goes until 12:31, I think. So there's 3 hours of, you know, people just slowly going.
Yeah. So, Councillor Patrick, I'm going to put you on the spot here. I want you to come up with a number for us, Councillor Patrick. You've heard the police, and you've heard, you know, the Mr. Landaz. What do you think's reasonable? Because we got to meet halfway, I think. You know, somehow.
I agree. I think 120 is perhaps, especially if they're going to shut the inside, so we're not talking about adding to the numbers. I don't know, 200, 250. I wouldn't want more than 250. Considering, presumably, we don't know what's going to happen this summer, but I don't know whether, I don't know whether the government's going to take away the COVID regulations this summer. I doubt it, because obviously, many people will still be, I think it's still going to be around. The population won't be vaccinated. So we are talking about perhaps, I understand Kerry's point of view that people will sit outside and drink. I think with the moment with COVID, people will sit anywhere where they can have a drink legally or perhaps illegally. The amount of people that are over Hackney Marshes all summer in large crowds drinking every time I walked across there. I don't know, 200? I don't know what you think.
I mean, I do think that 350 is too much, gentlemen.
Yeah.
I'm afraid that's my view. I mean, I'd be maybe more content to go. Sorry, you wanted to come in?
Sorry, Chair. I was just going to say that Andy Newman's been raising his hand.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, we can't see you, Andy. Sorry.
Whilst you're considering the figures, do you want to let him have a quick word?
Yeah, sorry,
Yeah,
Mr.
sorry.
Newman. I didn't see you there.
I
No
couldn't
problem.
see you. I had something covering you.
No problem. And my new light fell down as well, didn't it? But there we go. I'd just like to draw back. I know this is the big issue. Well, there's a couple of big issues, but Remy mentioned earlier he needs 350 to make the business viable, and that's the key for this application. Of course, West Ham nights are going to need extra attention, as we discussed. I just want to drill back to the SIA, where Councillor Patrick was mentioning Friday and Saturday nights in particular, perhaps others to be risk assessed. But I just want to draw back to it's basically about them not going bust whilst having that balance of looking after residents and dispersal. It seems to me if people are drinking in the street, I know Simon's knows the protocol of what they do in terms of dispersal, but it seems that people could be asked to move on, and if they don't, at the very least, they can say you're never coming into any of our premises again for a fixed period of time or something like that. You know, I don't think it's dead in the water that people can be moved on.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Patrick, in answer to your question on the numbers, you know, I think I'm being quite generous here at around 250.
Yeah.
So I think, guys, you can see, and that's on the table. You know,
Look, I think 250. If we could go to 250, that would be good. That's half of you know what we had proposed. It's obviously more than 120, which is based on table sittings. I think it would be good. It's less than what it reduces our capacity from what we are, but I think we can make it work. And you know we're trying to find a middle ground, obviously, you know, based you know, risk assessment, putting the right amount of security when it is, and I think we can
yeah. And just one further point about because I know in the mandatory conditions for the main venue, you've got a noise limiting condition number 23, is it? You know, with sound playing through a limiting device. That condition would also apply to the outside. You do realise that, don't you?
Yeah.
So you'd have to play your music on the outside through the limiter.
Yeah, that's fine. And what we're doing, obviously, it's all based on the current government guidance. I mean, even at the moment, it's more limited than what it would be inside anyway. So you know, we actually going with the limiter, making sure that we are where we need to be and not any louder than that. So yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great.
Amanda wants to come in, Gilbert. Sorry.
Okay, Amanda, please.
Sorry, can I just double check about the dispersal policy? Have we got that sorted, or is there something in there about dispersal policy? Or Mr. Newman, can you confirm about if there's a dispersal policy already submitted?
I mean, it might be worth drafting one or something.
Well, we can ask them whether they'd consider a condition for a dispersal policy. But I don't know whether or not that's already, or can the licensing officer confirm whether or not there's a dispersal policy for this already?
I'm not quite sure, but in one of those Andy statement, you already said there's a dispersal policy exists.
Yeah, there is, but I think we need to have it so it's to the reasonable satisfaction.
Do you want a new? Would you agree to a new condition then for a dispersal policy? A new one to be submitted, maybe? And would that maybe help the police at all?
Yeah, if Remy and Simon are okay with that. No,
yeah, I mean, I just wanted to ask you. I mean, since we're not increasing the capacity, is the one that we have? I think we probably proposed one already, but is the one that we have not right? I mean, since we're not going for any more numbers than we have, we actually potentially even reducing. So, but yeah, absolutely. You know, if you guys you know, not happy with the one we have, we can review it.
Well, it might be good to just review it, maybe. I think. What do you think, Councillor Patrick?
I think Councillor PC Ryan think she's indicating. People
Okay.
don't put their hands
For some
down.
reason, your pictures are not coming up on my screen, weirdly.
Keep telling you, you've got to get a laptop. Old-fashioned
PC
tech.
Ryan. Go ahead.
I think the dispersal policy just needs to be tailored around the outside area. That's all. Just to be a bit more specific around dispersing those people that will be leaving that fenced area.
Okay.
Yes.
You got that, Amanda?
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
nodding.
Yes,
Okay.
sorry, yes, I'm writing it down. Tailored.
Okay. Well, I think we've kind of
Yeah.
got there, I think, in the end. So any closing remarks anybody would like to make?
The capacity, what about the capacity figure in the end? Did you manage to use limiting it then to?
250.
I think we said 500. No?
No.
No, you didn't. I was thinking what you decided.
Good try.
Good
Good try,
try.
Remy. Okay, so any final points of clarification that anybody needs to make at all? Okay, great. Well, all those of you, thank you very much for attending. I hope you know, I think we've reached a good point in the debate. We will go off and deliberate and draw up the extra conditions, etc. And you should find out, I believe, tomorrow at some stage whether you've been successful. So if you could all leave, those who are not staying. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
And thank you, Mario, for doing the IT.